Thursday, ladies. Welcome, welcome. I am so excited, y'all. Let me hear get the beginning stuff out the way. Well, this is part of the beginning stuff too, but I want to say who I am before I get into this good news. I am Shamel Jackson, who is an overcomer, who also is a life coach, author, and speaker, and I help single Christian women understand who they are in Christ. And so thank you for tuning in. This is the Being a Overcomer series. We're talking about rejection this month. For those of you who tuned in last week for the first episode, thank you. If you watched it on the replay, thank you so much. And this is the second episode. We got one more episode after this one. Now, if you are tuning in, feel free to chat with me. Chat with me even after this live is over. Even after the live is over, chat with me beyond the live. Now, I hope you guys are doing great. Great. But let me tell you what that good news is. Y'all see this title up at the top? If you've been watching this series or any other videos I did during the lunchtime check-in, I've been saying y'all pray for Instagram to get these, be able to add a title before you do the live. I don't know if I'm late. Maybe I'm late. Y'all let me know if I'm late on this or not. But when I saw, wait a minute, that says add a title. Well, it didn't say. I just clicked on the icon. I'm like, oh, I can add a title before I start the live? That's what's up. That's what's up. I don't know if y'all ever watched the game, the TV show The Game, but there's a character on there named Derwin. He would say, that's what's up all the time, but that's what's up for real. But anyway, let's get to more of the good stuff. I'm just excited. You just got to be grateful for the little things, y'all. The little things. Now, also, if you missed my lunchtime check-in today, check it out. Because sometimes I'll just say some off the top of my head that God gives me that day. Because it's usually from an experience I have had. And it actually was from an experience I just had that morning. God led me to share it in the lunchtime check-in, which I think I'm looking at Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I'll do that. We shall see, y'all. So far, so good. Like I said, my schedule is going to change. So we'll see how it all flows. I want to make sure that I can do all of this and be effective. So that's important for me to I don't want to just be doing stuff. I want to be effective and I want to be productive. So I don't want to be busy, but I want to be productive. So anyway, moving on, the rejection series. So this series picked up off, the Being an Overcomer series, when we talk about rejection, picked up off the last series when we talk about shame and unforgiveness. And so it led me to go into deeper study of rejection. And so I'm going to start off with the definition of rejection. It is the act of refusing to accept, consider, submit to, takes for some purpose or use. Let's read that again. The act of refusing to accept, consider, submit to, take for some purpose or use. So in rejection, it didn't even say if you're rejecting a person. It could be a person, it could be a thing, it could be an idea, it can be an opinion, it can be a type of food. A food is a type of thing. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a person. And I'm going to go deeper into that because I had a situation where I'll go ahead and talk about it now. I was explaining to someone I feel rejected. And I didn't really know that was, that was the first time I actually verbalized that how I was feeling. Because when you hear rejection, when I heard rejection, I'm thinking, no, you're talking about a person. But in this instance, it's like I was expressing myself and the person was not hearing me. Or if they heard me give my opinion, they automatically reject it. Or either way, I felt rejected. And I end up looking it up. And that's not the definition that I found at that time. But there was a deeper meaning that will support me saying that was a form of rejection when that person was not hearing what I was saying. Every time I say something, you shut it down. And actually, it was the guy that I mentioned in the last series. So y'all, there is so much to be said about that situation, and I cannot wait to talk more about that in the future. So we just got to hold tight. I got to hold tight. You got to hold tight until the Lord says, let's go, Shamel. So that's rejection. Now, the first episode, we talked about Jesus being rejected, how in Isaiah 53:3, he was rejected, despised. People didn't appreciate his esteem or worth. And it brought pain. It brought grief. Rejection can bring grief. It can bring pain, sorrow. That's why it's so important that we know how to overcome it. And then we mentioned different types of rejection. Now, not all the types were discussed in the last episode, but we did mention things like peer rejection. You can be rejected from your family. And I gave stories for peer rejection from me. And so in career, in your job, you're trying to apply for a job and they say, no, we don't want you. And so you can feel some type of way about that. You definitely can feel some type of way about that, depending on what your situation is. And just, it just depends on the person. Rejection, different types of rejection affect people differently. So everyone does not take rejection the same. And that's really what tonight is all about. How you can identify if you have a problem with rejection. Now, we won't get into all of the fruits. That's what I'm talking about. The fruits of when you are struggling with handling rejection. And y'all, most of the time, the topics that I discuss come from my own personal experience. So I'm not telling you stuff that I have not just read, but I've also lived. I've also lived in my first 2 books, which means there'll be more books, dealt with an experience that came from my own life. It wasn't anybody else's experience. It was birthed from my own experiences. So moving on, let's go all the way back to 2017. This is Throwback Thursday, so we're going back 4 years, y'all. So 2017. Now, I work in social services now, but I didn't always work in social services. I used to be a teacher. Still certified to teach, but I don't have a role as a teacher in the classroom. And so 2017, I've been teaching at this place for 3 years. And that summer, God was saying, it's time to go. It's time to leave. Not just that place, but really that just teaching in that way. I'll just say that in that way. And I was like, God, am I hearing you right? You're like, leave my job. I'm like, wait a minute, why? And so to focus more on things, in my business, just work on some things. And I thought I was tripping, but I kept hearing that word from different people that I was listening to. So I just, meditated on it, just seeking the Lord about it. He kept sending signs, like he kept sending them. And October of that year, 2017, I made a decision. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm a sub. After all this, I'm a sub. And I gave a notice to my supervisor, explained to her why I was leaving. And that's what I did. The last Friday in December of 2017 was my last day at that place. And not that I didn't like the job, loved it. Absolutely loved it, y'all. It was amazing. And so I just knew it was time to go. If the season was over for that particular position. And so now I would have done some things different as far as the strategy for it, but I don't regret leaving it. Now, during this time, of course, when you make a major decision like that, you may have some doubts. That was a big leap. You may have some doubts. So I kept going back and forth about, did I really hear you, God? Is this really what I need to do? Because I ain't asking anybody, because I was, I knew he had said that to me. I knew that's what he said, but I was still like, God, really? You really say that? And so I don't know if I was going to the church bookstore on purpose to look for a book, or I was just in there just to be looking. But I came across this book called Unshakable by John Eckhart. And I mentioned this book several times before. And it deals with being double-minded. So I guess I felt some type of way, like I have a problem with that, because I'm going back and forth. And I don't remember, but I probably had other situation where I was going back and forth. Should I do this? Should I do that? And this probably had something to do with the relationship I was in at the time. I don't know, but I know that was a concern as well for me during that time. But I was like, God, I don't want to be done. I just want to know and be done and make a decision and move on. And so as I'm reading this book, he starts to talk about being double-minded comes from the spirit of rejection. And I was like, wow. And I stopped there because I was like, I got to deal with this rejection piece before I even finish this book. If that's where it's coming from, I got to go to the root, y'all. And so I go and get the other book by him, another book by him called the Healing the Spirit of Rejection. Talked about that book as well. I made a post about both of these books. And I started reading that. I read that by myself the first time. And so it just revealed a lot of what was going on. And I really didn't know God was preparing me for what was about to come next summer, this upcoming summer. But because I really wasn't serious when I don't remember being like so serious. Well, I just say serious, so serious about, overcome rejection as I am now. I was just like, oh, okay, I got a problem with rejection, whatever. Let me just read this book and I'll be gone. No, ma'am, Sam. No, ma'am, Sam. So finished that book. Fast forward to July 2018. In therapy for this breakup that I experienced in June 2018. And as I'm talking, I'm telling the therapist, I felt rejected, even though he was not, my boyfriend at the time was not saying, I don't want you, but I could feel the detachment, the emotional distance, like something was not off. And I did not know that I was feeling rejected until I was talking to this guy. At least I didn't verbalize it to anyone. But as I'm talking to the therapist, I'm realizing, oh my goodness, I'm doing these things, trying to prove to him, well, because he was, not excited about me trying to move there. And, I would, recommend this, like to, make this transition. Because not only did I leave my job, I'm also thinking about moving there. And so I was doing things. So I say, okay, well, maybe if I do this, he will be more excited. Or what if I do this? And all these different things. And so as I'm talking to the therapist, I said, oh my goodness, I am trying to perform to be accepted. I'm people pleasing. I am just doing this. Mainly, I was doing a lot of that, and I really didn't know I was doing it until I'm talking to this therapist. And the only reason why I recognize it because I read this book on rejection way before we broke up. So God prepared me to have this whole big revelation about my problem with rejection. Now, I should have left the relationship, obviously, months before it went down. If you read the book, you'll know that I started noticing the signs very early on. But, it is what it is. It's over now. And here we are, and so many amazing things has happened since then. So it's all worked together for the good. And so I'm like talking to the therapist, oh my goodness. That's why I'm having such a hard time with this breakup, because it's a breakup. It was devastating. And so I was doing a lot of work in the relationship so I can be accepted. I want you to accept me moving to your estate. I want you to accept me. I want you to be excited about seeing me and wanting you to come see me. Make these plans to do this. Oh, I can do this. So when you want to be around me, like all these things I was doing to be accepted. And so God prepared me for that. And so my rejection study got a little bit deeper this time because I'm like, I gotta get over this. And so I did some things, the things that I did to overcome it, which we'll talk about in episode 3. It's gonna be very important. It was a lot. It was a lot, and it's an ongoing journey. It's an ongoing thing. It's not a thing you can do in one day and it's over. And so fast forward to 2020. 2020, we just talked about this whole situation with the guy I met on Facebook in the last series. But again, I said it's a journey, trying to overcome this thing. So I get to this situation. Now I am disobeying God because he already said, Shamel, don't date. Do not get involved with him. That's it. But because I'm hearing other voices, like other actual people, guys, and taking their opinions into consideration, and then my own flesh, which wants to do what it wants to do, I ignore God. Like I said one thing and I did another. So my loyalty, well, there is no loyalty. I switch up because, okay, I don't want to upset anybody. I want to please you. Well, maybe I should give him a chance. Or he's doing this and maybe I should. Like, that's double-minded. I'm not stable. I'm not being unshakable. Because if I was unshakable, I'd be saying, no, I'm not dating you. I'm not going out with you. Stop calling me. It's done. It's over. But instead, I gave into what the enemy threw at me. And that's what he's going to do. That's what he's going to do. That's why we have to learn how to overcome these things. So that's one thing. That's another thing. People pleasing, performance, working to be accepted. And then you have this double-mindedness. You have this double-mindedness. I'm not even confident in my own decision. I'm not being confident. Like, is that really what I should do, God? You know? So double-minded. And then we get into rebellion. Because if I'm not doing what God says, I'm rebelling. So you got people-pleasing, double-minded, rebellion, because you are rejecting what God is saying. You're rejecting what God is saying because you don't want to feel rejected from someone else. So you do what they say so you could be a part of what, maybe it's a crowd, be a part of the group, don't want to ruffle any feathers, all of that. I know what that feels like. It's not a good feeling, and it's an ongoing journey that you have to overcome. Now, y'all, this last one, I experienced this too. Bitterness. Oh my goodness. Bitterness. Whew. And it's not just a women's thing. Men can be bitter as well. I've experienced that. Like I said, that story in the last series has layers to it that I haven't even tapped into all of it. But people can be bitter when they're rejected. People can be bitter when they are rejected because you want this certain thing. It can be from a person or a thing. Let's say with a person. If you're in the dating world, you constantly been rejected by men, or you get into a relationship and y'all break up. That's constant rejection. You can become bitter if you don't know how to handle the rejection. Now we do need to, take a look back and look at ourselves and say, okay, should I have gotten into the relationship? Should I have done that? And so that's a whole nother thing. But if you got into it and didn't work out, and that's rejection. And that keeps happening, you can become bitter about it. You can become very bitter about, ain't no good men out here. All men are dogs. Like, that whole attitude is bitterness. It's bitterness. And I'm not saying I have not been there. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's not good. It's not godly, because God does not want us to be bitter. And talk about Ephesians 4 or 5. We talked about it in the last series. Get rid of all bitterness. And bitterness spreads. And then if you see other women dating and they may meet a guy, your bitterness attitude may go into their situation. Like, girl, I wouldn't trust him, and this might be a good guy, but you're bitter from you being rejected. You mess up the hopes of someone else, seeking a relationship that's actually might be a good relationship. We don't know, but because we're bitter, we put that on other people. And let's just take it off relationships, because there's other types of rejection, obviously. With a job. If you're constantly looking for a job, and I've experienced this before in the past, looking for a job, you're not getting any offers, that can be very painful if you're really seeking another job and you just want to, for whatever your reason is for wanting to get a job, it's not being fulfilled. It's not being fulfilled. Hey, Rosy Cheeks, thank you for joining us tonight. And so we got people pleasing, bitterness, rebellion, double-mindedness. All these are fruits of rejection. Y'all forgot this one. Perfectionism. Woo! This may need it will get a whole live by itself one day. Perfectionism. It is not a badge of honor to say you're a perfectionist. I used to think that, but it's really not, because first of all, we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. Period. None of us are perfect. But because you're trying to perfect, because at the end of the day, you're trying to get glory. To say, you know, I did this, I did that. Look how good I did that. God don't get no glory out of you trying to be perfect. Well, we can't be. We can't be perfect. That goes into, like I said, perfectionism is going to get a whole live one day. Just keep watching. Just keep watching. And so you're trying to do everything right, and it's stressful. Being a perfectionist is stressful. I have been there, but now this is one thing I do to try to overcome perfectionism. If I'm working on something and I notice a tiny little mistake, it may be a video I'm recording or audio. I probably recorded 5 times because I'm trying to get it right. After that, and on the 6th time I notice a little bit of an error, I leave it. I shared this with a friend not too long ago. I leave it because it frees me. Like, at some point you gotta say, here you go, God. Let you know my heart. You know I'm trying to do this in excellence. You will know I want this to be right for the people, but I'm gonna let you put your hands on it, put your super on my natural, and I just roll. Because 9 times out of 10, sometimes people don't even notice the mistake that you notice. There were mistakes in my first 2 books, and I said I got to a point, so it's done. I'm not gonna look at this book no more, because guess what? I'm gonna keep finding mistakes. I'm gonna let this book get published, and let whoever needs to read it in this season. So you holding up from your readers if you're an author. You holding up your readers because you're trying to get everything so perfect, and it's just crazy. It's a crazy feeling, and I've been there, done that. Bought the t-shirt, got the keychain, all of that. And so if you do something, it has a little mistake and it goes viral, God gets the glory out of that. God gets the glory. We are not God. We're his children if we have accepted his son, but he wants the glory. He wants the glory. We can't, we just want to sit back and say, oh, I did that. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be proud of yourself for doing things, but there is a such thing as pride. So you just got to be careful about that perfectionism, because it can turn into pride. So those are some of the fruits that I have experienced in my own life, and just those are some fruits anyway of rejection. And we will continue this talk, y'all, talking about rejection and identity. Like I said, perfectionism needs a whole live on its own, but I'm excited. I'm excited about, what's next to come. Now that you know some of the fruits, we're going to talk about how to one way you can overcome rejection. Well, I'll say this. This is one thing you have to do to overcome rejection. It has to be in your plan to overcome rejection. I started doing this in therapy. And I'll explain that journey of overcome rejection more in the next episode next week, next Thursday, 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, for the 3rd episode of the Being a Overcomer series, y'all. This, I don't care if you can see 1,000 steps on how to overcome rejection, but this one right here, you have to do. There is no way you can overcome it if you do not do this one thing, and that's what we're going to talk about next week. So I hope you can join me next Thursday, same time, same place, right on here on Instagram. If not, catch it live. Of course, you can catch the replay. And also, it's Thursday, but guess what? On Monday, I post the verse of the week. All right, and it's related to our identity in Christ. So if you've not have checked the verse of the week, go check it out. Press play. You will hear my voice say the verse of the week. And there's 2 verses on the actual post, but when you play the audio, it's just 1 verse. And here was a mistake I made here. It's so funny because I didn't realize it till after I was done with all of it, y'all. I'm being very transparent. The verse that I did not record is the one I actually wanted to use for the recording. So I don't know why I chose the particular voice that you would hear, because it was the other one that I really wanted to say. So I don't know. Maybe that was God saying somebody else need to hear this verse, or Shamel say this. I don't know. But I just let it roll because it's all the same. It's all the same. So thank you for tuning in tonight. We're going to finish this up on next Thursday. And we'll share more news about rejection and identity after next week's episode. But you guys have a great weekend. It's raining here, but if it's raining in your area, be safe out there. Be safe out there, period, y'all, because it's a lot going on. It is a lot going on. And then make sure, well, Monday we'll have a new verse of the week. So catch the one this week. It's not too late to meditate on it. If you still want to meditate on it next week, that is your business. It's the word of God. Like, who am I to tell you we ain't on that verse this week? You can't read that. No, do whatever the Lord tells you to do. Okay, do what the Lord told you to do. I just talked about how I was being devil-minded because I'm like, the Lord said this, but these people are saying this, and my flesh is saying this. I need to listen to the Lord. That's where my loyalty needs to lie. Anyway, thank y'all for tuning in, and have